Hey, it's Sherman Ragland, Dean of the Real Investors Academy here in Washington, D.C., and welcome to 10 Minute Real Estate. This is where we share with you practical, pragmatic information that will put money in your pocket and help you create wealth through real estate and real estate investing. So, a long time ago, when I was just a wee pup, I was blessed to have gotten a national scholarship to go to the Wharton School of Business. That's right, the place up in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania. And I had a real estate finance professor who took me under his wing, and he taught me a lot about real estate finance. But there was two things I really remember him saying that if you know these two things, they're guaranteed to put a lot of money in your pocket. So what are these two things? Well, first off, he said to me, Sherman, always follow the smart money. Now, when you think about the smart money, you know, who are the smartest folks out there when it comes to money? A couple of names come to mind. Obviously, Bill Gates, who made a lot of money in Microsoft, but the number two person, the second wealthiest person in the entire United States, and one of the wealthiest people in the world is a guy by the name of Warren Buffett. And in 2012, at the very depths of the real estate depression and national recession, Warren Buffett made a very profound statement on CNBC when he was talking to Becky Quick. He said, listen, if I could right now, the number one place I would be investing money is in real estate. Not just any kind of real estate, but specifically single-family homes. Now, what I'm going to share with you right now is one of those secrets that are the secrets of the really smart money that you can apply either with single-family houses or small duplexes or even apartment buildings. What is the secret? Well, the number one reason why Warren Buffett and other people, smart people, love real estate is because real estate has 5 things that no other investment can give you. And I'm going to walk through real quickly through what these 5 things are, and hopefully you'll take some information away from this today and be able to use it and apply it and make serious money as a real estate investor. So what are the 5 things? Let's get right to it. Number 1, real estate gives you income. Income. So number 1, I for income. Now what do I mean by that? Not every investment that you make gives you income. In fact, did you know that if you went out and bought shares of Apple Computer or other kinds of investments like high-tech stocks, you may not actually get an ongoing, predictable monthly income from those investments? That's right. When you buy mutual funds or stocks, oftentimes you don't make a dime until you do what? When you sell it. But real estate is one of those things that when you buy it correctly, it throws off an income literally day one, and each and every month while you own that investment, it still produces income. So number 1 is I for income. Number 2 is D. Number 2, D stands for depreciation. Now, what do I mean by depreciation? Well, if you're a fan of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and all of his series of books, you know that real estate is the last great tax shelter in the United States of America. In fact, many of the tax shelters that a lot of rich people have come to know and love, like offshore investing and oil and gas futures, those kinds of things, those were wiped out with a lot of the things that have happened over the past 8-12 years. With the new administration that's in the White House, they haven't given favorable tax treatment to rich people, and they haven't given favorable tax treatment, honestly, to regular people, like us. But real estate still maintains that depreciation, meaning when you own a piece of real estate, each and every year you can tell the IRS legally that your property is worth a little bit less. And you can use that to shelter not only your income from the property, but your income from your regular income or from other investments. So D stands for depreciation, the ability to actually earn real cash money but not have to report it legally on your tax returns. All right? Number 3 is E. Now this is the biggie. E stands for equity buildup. Equity buildup. What do I mean by that? Now, if you own your own home or you own an investment property, you have lots of different choices as to how you can finance it. You can use creative financing, you can use nothing down techniques, but for the average person, the number one investment that they're ever going to make is their own home. And for many people, the smart investors, once you own your own home, if you decide to move to a bigger home, one of the smartest things you can ever do is turn that home into a rental property. Here's the deal. When you buy a property in the United States of America, 99.9% of the mortgages out there are what's called amortizing mortgages. Now, what does amortizing mean? Well, amortizing is actually a French word, mort, like mortuary or mortician, which means to kill off. So most people, when they buy a property, they're going to take out what's called a 30-year amortizing mortgage. What does that mean? It means each and every month, not only do you pay the interest, which is literally paying a little bit of profit back to the person who lent you the money, but each month you actually pay down a little bit of what's called the principal. Now, this is where this E, or equity buildup, comes in. When you pay your mortgage, let's say your mortgage is $1,500 a month, well, probably $1,100 of it is going towards the interest, and $400 is going towards what's called the principal pay down, or actually paying back the loan. So at the end of 30 years, you're not going to owe that bank, that lender, anything. That property is yours, free and clear. So what does that really mean? It means each and every month you were forced to save some money. Equity buildup is that portion of the mortgage that you pay, whether it's an investment property or your own home, that pays down that principal balance. So if you think about it this way, if you go buy $1 million property and you make all the payments, now whether you make the payments because it's coming out of your own pocket or you have tenants in there who are paying that $1 million for you, at the end of 30 years on a 30-year amortizing mortgage, you're going to own that building free and clear. It's a way to force you to save money. That's what this equity buildup represents. This equity buildup is the paying down of the principal, which means basically each and every month you're owning a little bit more of that building and you're borrowing a little bit less from the bank. That's what the equity buildup component is. All right? Number 4. A stands for appreciation. Now, appreciation is what you get when the value of the property actually goes up. So remember how I talked about that $1 million property? If you have $1 million property, how much could it be worth 10, 20, 30 years from now? Chances are it's going to be worth a little bit more. In fact, in the history of real estate investing in the United States, property values have consistently gone up. Now, they don't go up in a straight line. Sometimes they go up and sometimes they come down a little bit, but then they generally keep going back up. In fact, there's only been one time in the history of the United States where property values actually went down consistently for a couple of years, but we're already starting to get back to those sort of pre-2006 levels. So what's happening is even people who bought properties in 2005, 2006 at the top of the market in most places in this country, and they lost a little bit of value 2008, 2009, if they held on to them, those values are right back up. And when you buy an investment property, whether it's your own home or you're buying a couple of houses just as investment properties, you should expect that over time, if you do it right, the value of that property is going to go up. It's sort of like having your cake and eating it too. So in addition to the equity buildup where you're paying down the mortgage, you should also expect that the value of that property will go up over time when you buy correctly. So that's the A, which stands for appreciation. And then the last part is L, which stands for leverage. Now, what do we mean by leverage? Let's say that you have $10,000. Now, I know to a lot of people, $10,000 is a lot of money. But let's say you have $10,000 to invest. Well, you have choices. You could go out and buy $10,000 worth of mutual funds. You could go out and buy $10,000 worth of stocks. You can invest with your best friend or your friend from high school or a family member and invest it in their company. Or you could buy real estate. Well, here's the deal. If you go to a stock brokerage firm and you say, I want to buy $10,000 worth of mutual funds, how much money do you have to put up? $10,000. If you say to your friend, hey, I'd like to make an investment in your company, how much do you need? He says, $10,000. Give him $10,000. But you can actually buy a $100,000 piece of property if you were going to live in it for $10,000. You could buy a $50,000 piece of property with just $10,000 down. The leverage is your ability to borrow or leverage the amount of money that you have to buy a bigger asset. So stop and think about this for a second. Let's say you're able to buy a house for $10,000, and I'm just using, $100,000. I'm just using $100,000 just to make the math simple. And you put $10,000 down. But over the period of, let's say, 10 years, that $100,000 house wound up being worth $120,000. Okay? So you pay off the mortgage, right? So let's say you borrowed $90,000, you pay off the mortgage, you get your original $10,000 back. Well, who gets the additional amount of money? Who gets that $20,000? Do you have to split that with the bank? No, that goes back to you. So you literally put up $10,000 in that example and got back $20,000 on top of it. That's huge. You can't do that in the stock market. You can't do that with oil and gas futures. You can't get that kind of leverage with any other investment other than real estate. So put it all together, and what you get is income, depreciation, equity buildup, appreciation, and leverage, which is what makes real estate the ideal investment. So I hope you learned something today. Look forward to catching up with you next time as we do another segment on 10-Minute Real Estate. Take care.